Buenos dias to my millions of YouTube followers. It's Jack Redley here, the graphic design book guy. Every week I read a different graphic design orientated book and then I present it to you on YouTube. The aim is to help you to improve your graphic design skills, motivate you to design, and finally know what books to get your hands on. This week I want to present this book, Creative Strategy and Business of Design by Douglas Davis. It's definitely the best book I've read on this channel so far. I've actually read it twice this week. That should tell you two things about me. One, I have no friends, and two, this book is worth reading multiple times. I'm sure this isn't the last time I'll read it. Let's get into it. So who wrote this book? Douglas Davis is the author of this book, and I first came across him when he did the Futures podcast where he was interviewed by Chris Do. If you're interested in creative stuff or anything in the creative world and you haven't listened to that podcast, you should. It's really, really worth listening to, okay? So Douglas Davis did an arts program at the Hamptons University. Then he did a communications design master's at the Pratt Institute in New York. And then after that, while he was a freelance art director, he did an integrated marketing program at the New York University to learn the language of business. Currently, Douglas is the associate professor for the communication design department at the New York City College of Technology in Brooklyn. So basically, this guy is very much worth listening to when it comes to graphic design and business. What is this book about then? This book is about uniting the creative execution and business strategy into one. So it's understanding the strategic side of why business and marketing people are employing you to do the creative job role that you're doing. Douglas Davis, as a professor and designer who understands the language of business, knows how to write a book with loads of useful information that is highly readable. So it's really, really worth studying. The book is split into 4 parts. Part 1 is a crash course in business and marketing for creatives with a lot of terminology. It's quite a dry section, but it's really worth reading. Part 2 is gathering and organising relevant information to organise strategy. Part 3 is developing and presenting your work. And then part 4 is increasing the value of your contribution to your clients. Then the book ends with 14 creative assignments so that after you've read all this book, you can do assignment portfolios with this knowledge and hopefully make them more effective than your previous work. What's also really, really interesting about this book is the mini essays that creative professionals have done, which Douglas has met throughout the course of his career. So there's people in advertising, there's creative strategists, there's people in marketing. All these people are in different industries that would employ you as a creative to do the work. So it's really interesting to get their insights as well as Douglas's own. So my 3 biggest takeaways from reading this book are: 1, understanding the difference between features, benefits, and values. Now, this might sound like marketing, advertising speak, and yes, it is important in those fields, but it's actually really important to your graphic design career as well, because if you don't understand these key features, benefits, and values, if you don't understand the meaning of these, then it's going to be really, really hard for you to connect with your customer, which is ultimately why you're getting paid by a business or marketing person. So it's really, really crucial to understand these points. Features, otherwise known as attributes, are the key products or services that are offered. So it might be, for example, the example given in the book is airbags in cars, or it might be food on the menu. Now, it's not an emotional thing, it's just the factual thing about what that company offers. So benefits feature on the customer's needs and desires. It's the advantage that the product brings to that customer. So in other words, it's the relevance to that particular customer. Airbags in cars are the feature, right? And then the relevant thing, the benefit, is that you might not die when you crash. That's the key, because that is relevant to the customer. So values are the why should I care part. It's the emotional trigger that will dictate whether people buy the product or not, so it's crucial to understand. This should dictate all your design direction. These three things, the features, benefits, and values. But ultimately, values is the most crucial one to understand because, like I said, it's the emotional trigger that will dictate whether the product is bought or not. I actually did this table to show you on my own YouTube channel to understand the process from feature, benefit, and value so that you can understand it a little bit better. Now, I know what you're thinking. That looks like an interesting timetable. It is, all right? You've got the product, target audience, feature, benefit, value. So the product is the graphic design channel, and then the target audience is creatives who want to improve their design skills at any age, lack motivation to design, or want to be informed about graphic design books to buy. And then the feature. So what does the product offer? What are the attributes of the YouTube channel? Short video explaining a different graphic design book every week and links to further resources. But then you're like, what's in it for me? Well, after watching the video, you know more about an area of design, you feel motivated, you know more about a particular graphic design book. And then if that's not enough, why should I care? What's the value? You grow knowledge, so you grow your expertise and you're able to charge more. So pretty much everyone should watch the channel basically, and you feel part of a group. The second point, the second biggest takeaway that I've got from this book is the creative strategy framework, which Douglas Davis came up with himself. The idea is that when you go into initial meeting with a client, you may not get all the information that you need, or you may get an overload of information. So the creative strategy framework is so that you can organize the information that you're given and ask any other questions to the client that you might need before heading out to actually do the research and the process of designing whatever product is needed. Another table, it's Christmas come early. So on this one you've got the target, which is obviously the demographic and psychographic differentiators there. So demographic characterized by population, race, etc. And then you've got the psychographic, which is more the personality based segmentation there. And then the facts, you've got to consider in the exploration meeting that your client might not give you the negatives about the brand or product that they're putting out. So look at the history and blog reviews really carefully to understand if there are any negative things that you need to know about that your client might not tell you. And then feature, benefit, we've already covered this, but obviously you've got to understand what the attribute is and then how it is advantageous to the customer. And then the messaging, also really important, going off the feature and benefit. What should the target take away from the brand communication? And then the objective might be from marketing or business people, how to convert or generate more clicks or whatever it is that the objective for the client is. The third biggest takeaway from this book is the art of presenting. If you don't present your ideas in a convincing manner to your client, then it's just not going to sell. It doesn't matter how good your idea is, but if you haven't got a thought-through presentation, which you've practiced, it's just not going to fly. So micro points in that are: don't speak too much before presenting your work, and don't speak too little. This I wish I knew before I started presenting work to clients, because basically, if you're giving them, say, a history of their brand when they already know that information, they're going to get bored and or annoyed. And then if you're presenting too little, then basically it looks like you haven't really thought through the process and you haven't really got a strategy for your decisions that are being made. So that's a really, really crucial point. You've got to have a measured presentation which builds up to the work that you're presenting. The next little point is framing. A lot of the time, if you haven't thought through your presentation so that it builds up to showing your logo or design or whatever it is that you're presenting at the right time, then your client will react subjectively, like, I don't like the color, or can you make the logo bigger, or whatever. And what you need to do is have a presentation that's rooted in strategy. If you haven't got that point after this whole stupid video, then you need to have a strategic approach to your designs to make them effective. okay? So then, if you've already got a presentation that says why you've got to the place that you've got to aesthetically, then you can take your client back to previous slides, if you're doing a presentation on Keynote or PowerPoint or however you do it, and say, well, I've thought about the target market that you're going for here, and hence I've made this decision on color or shape or whatever it is, and show them why you made that decision. So you've got to think through your presentation to avoid getting subjective comments from your clients that you can't deal with. So who should read this book? Well, if you want to implement strategy in your design thinking, then this book is a must-have. It really has been a very useful book for me to actually change my thought process about not only research, design thinking itself, but then also presenting to clients. I think strategy is something that I need to implement in all three of those areas, and maybe you feel the same. So I hope this video was helpful, guys. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit the like button if it was helpful, and then comment below if you want to see me read any books and give you reviews on anything. Below is going to be an affiliate link to the book. There's going to be extra resources. There's going to be plenty of other good things that will hopefully lead you into other directions in regards to strategy and design. Next week, I'm going to be reading How To by Michael Beirut. It's going to be a good video. You already know that. Have a massive week. See you later, guys.